Okay, so good morning everyone, and thank you for this opportunity to speak here today. I'm happy that you all have your phones up to take pictures of me. That's why I'm not standing behind the podium, so I'm here. Okay, so as you heard, I'm from Finland, and I want to start by telling you a little bit about Finland. Are there any Finnish people here? Ooh, quite a lot, okay. So this will not come as a surprise to you, but maybe to the rest of you it will. As you may know, Finland is a Nordic welfare state. We are a small country up in the north, 5.5 million people. It's quite cold. You may also know that Finland is technologically quite advanced, or at least it was when Nokia. You might remember the phones that looked like this, actually. Yes, we were in the forefront of the tech boom in the turn of the millennium. And what else? I'll go to the less known fact. In Finland, children get given smartphones most typically when they are 7. Yes. Why do we do that? Good question. It's quite alarming. People know about the risks. It's not about not being aware. It's about circumstances in Finland that are actually all very positive, that have led to this unintended consequence. First of all, Finland is very safe. Kids move around on their own. It's perfectly normal to have a first grader, a 7-year-old, take the public transportation on their own. Also, Finland is very gender equal, you might have heard. And this has led to both parents working. When children get their phones at 7, it is very likely that both the mother and the father is in the labor force. This is also a positive thing about Finland. We don't want to change that. But it means that children are spending more time unattended. They spend their after-school hours alone, often, or with friends, and also holidays. And then in the 90s, we got the Nokia phones, and they were really good for this cultural arrangement, where children spend a lot of time on their own and move around on their own. So we gave them the phones. Often already before school, actually, on the preparation class, which starts at 6. And so nothing changed after that. We still give the phones to the children at that age, only the phones changed. Very much so. Or actually, they're not even phones because nobody talks with them anymore. They're little supercomputers. Right. Okay, so I'm going to talk about digital connection and disconnection, and that was already mentioned earlier in the opening speeches, that digitalization has changed our social lives profoundly. It's good that we can be connected with each other. When two individuals are apart, for instance, a parent and a child during the working and school day, it's good that they can be in contact. But then the disconnection. The phones are also very, very customized for personal use. First of all, people select the apps that they want to have on it, so that's kind of customized for your own personal interests. And then after that, the apps take over. They customize the content to keep you on the device. So they're very heavily customized, which means that when people are not separated, but they're physically in the same place, the phones are a distraction. They are competing for our time and attention constantly. So parents, also we're going to be talking about parents' screen time, not only children's screen time. So parents didn't used to bring their work and their hobbies and their personal social networks and all their other interests into the home. But now they are doing so, and they are constantly on the phone competing for parents' attention. And the same is true for the child if the child also has their own screen. Okay, so getting started. Most of the studies that you'll be hearing about digital harms and also the benefits are very much on the individual level. So you'll hear about how screen time affects children's ability to concentrate, or their academic achievement, or their sleep, or their physical activity. So they're all in the very individual sphere. I'm a sociologist, so I'm looking at the community level. I'm interested in what is happening around the child, whether or not the child has a phone of their own. The environment is digitalized. So the hands all around, they could be, for instance, the family members, Are they there to provide the child with face-to-face contact? Is the child able to practice social interaction in their immediate environment? The family being, of course, the primary environment for the under-school-aged, and then the hands around would be, obviously, the school environment later on. So this is the level of research that I'm focusing on. So I'll talk about families first. This is my own research, and then after families, I'll be talking a little bit about schools. 2 years ago, I defended my PhD. It was about connecting and disconnecting in families, so information and communication technology use in families and how it affects the family relationship quality. The results in a nutshell is, well, I actually already said it. So the digital devices are very good for relationships when they connect people, when they help people to interact. It can be the connection when you are away from your family member, but it can also be connection when you're physically present if you're engaging with the same material, with the same device. So co-use is what we call it. These are both good for the relationship. They foster interaction in that relationship. But then, as I said, they are also very distracting because they are usually not intended for co-use. They are usually very, very customized for somebody's personal, around somebody's personal interests. So they undermine relationships through displaced attention. There are many studies that show that parents using devices, for instance, interact less with their child, or they interact in ways that are not typical for human beings. The rhythm changes, the eye contact is missing, or it may be somehow different. Also, there's less joint attention, and just in general, less attention and responsiveness. And then what I want to point out is that the devices, although they do hold the benefits and these risks and harms, it's important to notice that out of screen time, which is several hours a day if you're lucky, and towards 6 or 7 if you're a heavy user, most of the screen time is of the displacing type. So the benefits of devices are attainable with moderate screen time. And then the harms kick in when you're using several hours a day of just engaging with content that is personalized to you. So at the core of my thesis is a systematic review of 73 studies. And each of these 73 studies looked at the effects of information and communication technology on the quality of a family relationship. So 73 versions of this. I studied parent-child relationships, but also parents, the parental relationship, and sibling relationships. There was only 2 studies on siblings, so mainly it concentrates or focuses on parents and children. I looked at different types of ICT use, but focusing on the context of use. So whether it is used personally for your own personal entertainment or engagement, or whether it is used jointly with the child or with the other parent, and also communication and how these affect. And the different kinds of relationship quality outcomes that I had ranged from, well, various measures of relationship quality, but also intimacy, time spent together, communication frequency, also satisfaction in relationship, love, and so on. So all of the outcome variables were on the relationship level. Right. Okay, so after my PhD, I have concentrated on only parental use. And it was quite striking. Our own paper, oh, where's the laser pointer? Over there, was published in 2022. But the review actually consisted of studies that ranged to 2019. That's when I actually did the review, before it was published. And after that, after 2019, the reviews that have been published during the past 5 years are numerous. So there's 10 here, and they all include together, put together, they include more than 120 separate studies of just parental use and how it affects the parent-child relationship and the child's social developmental environment. Okay, so already the interest in this issue is quite striking. But then for the results. Here I compiled only the results on the plus 13-year-olds and their parents. And the reason is because I can't present 120 studies here. But they're all towards the similar direction. So the parental use affects basically the social interaction, the opportunities the parent gives to the child to interact, and practice also. It is all practice. It is towards becoming a competent social being as an adult. The numbers tell you how many studies there were on each variable or variable type. And then I marked with a little, that was the wrong, there we go. I marked with a little arrow those studies that used methods that also give an indication of causality. Because often when you have a study, most studies are obviously correlational, so you have one thing appearing at the same time as another thing, and then you can see that they're correlated, but you don't know which one is actually causing the other. But in this case, we know that these studies used methods that are more robust in this sense. So, parental screen time. As parental screen time goes up, we see lower parent-child relationship quality. We see lower parenting quality. We see parental guilt, less interaction, adolescent problematic smartphone use, cyberbullying among adolescents, lower social skills, and poorer adolescent mental health. Now, this was already mentioned several times earlier, and also maybe the reason why there are so many studies on this issue now is the motivation is the mental health crisis among youth. And now we can also see that this is a contributor. So not only the screen time of the child, but also the availability of social interaction in the immediate environment. Okay, then going into schools. Now I have a case here from Norway because we look to Norway in admiration from Finland because we're still stuck in the Nokia age and we're giving the smartphones to our 7-year-olds. But Norway is already more advanced in this. They already very early started to implement bans in schools because they realized that the smartphones were not helping in the school environment. So, okay, actually, before I go into Norway, I have this compilation slide. I'm not a developmental scientist, so I turn to other people here for guidance of what to think. Adolescence and the school years in general are a period of intense social development for children. It was already mentioned here that the preteen years are so sensitive that developmental psychologists advise smartphones to be given only after those sensitive years of social development. As we know, children and teens flock to each other, to their peers, to be social. They start to lose interest in their family slowly, for a while at least, and they want to go to their peers and be socially active. And digital tools and social media especially, they stimulate the same receptors. So the adolescents and children have like a social instinct to go and be with the peers and to be someone among them, to be accepted, and also to cooperate and practice conflict. All of that is very important. And so social media is giving kind of similar stimuli and triggering the same dopamine receptors, but they're not delivering the actual reward that this reward system has developed for. So they're not actually contributing to long-term friendship, to social skills, and to all of those things that the practice actually is there for, why the brain is kind of pre-programmed to do so. So through social interaction, children, they learn empathy, coordinated action, conflict resolution, and they learn about themselves, who they are, and what their interests are, how good they are at certain things, and so on. So the comparison is important for them to learn who they are. And so this kind of comparison, for example, is very common on social media, but it is not leading to more information about the individual. It's a very biased picture and a very harmful one also. So we know from psychology that trust between individuals is created through face-to-face contact. The more time you spend with someone face-to-face, the more trust you will build in that relationship. The digital world doesn't provide that. It's not the same being digitally connected. And the reason behind it is probably because digital communication is too cheap, kind of cheap. And face-to-face connection is very costly. When you're with someone face-to-face, you can't be doing anything else at the same time, so you are incurring an opportunity cost. Also, when you're digitally connected, you can be communicating with people in parallel. You can communicate with one over there and the other, and this is what teenagers do. They have many conversations going on at the same time. So the digital communication is it's less costly, but then it also doesn't contribute to the long-term relationship building and trust. And so we also know from Helliwell and colleagues that being social online does not support well-being like offline socializing does. If you have a certain number of, usually about 5 to 10 close friends that you like to hang out with offline, that contributes to your well-being. It's actually one of the cornerstones of well-being, to be socially connected and to belong to some group of people. And online socializing does not contribute to well-being in the same way. Okay, so Norway. Norway started to implement smartphone bans in schools already in 2010. It came in waves. Some were early adopters, and then around 2016, most of the schools were on board with the bans. Some of them were stricter, and some of them were more lenient in terms of where they had to be stored, whether people could just have them in their bags, or whether they had to be handed in somewhere and locked away. And this implementation way that Norway took was helpful for researchers because it happened in waves like this. And in this way, the researchers were able to tease out what the effect of the actual ban is. Because if a smartphone ban is implemented in a country all at once, you can't tease apart, for instance, other trends, other societal trends that are happening at the same time and their effects on children. Or you can't affect the technology also changes. If you have a smartphone ban implemented in a school and that same year there's also a new app that everyone's using, you can't tease apart what caused what. But in Norway, because it happened like this, so schools implemented them at different times, they were able to use this event design in the research to see what is the actual effect of the ban. I'm going to look at bullying here, but if you go to the actual paper, which is actually not peer-reviewed yet, it's quite new, you will find that there's also effects on academic achievement, especially among girls, and especially among girls from vulnerable backgrounds. That's very interesting. And also another result is that it improved mental health. But I'll be looking at bullying here since I'm a sociologist and I like social interaction. So after the implementation, again, the wrong button, there we go. After the implementation of the ban, which is the point 0 here, we can see that bullying started to go down. And there's girls and boys. Boys are the little circles and girls are the little diamonds. So bullying decreased after the implementation of the ban. They used the Olvius scale. It's an often used bullying scale where students report how many times they've experienced bullying and what types of bullying and how it affects them. So bullying decreased after the implementation of the ban. After 3 or 4 years, the decrease was 43 to 46%. That's a lot. Yeah. As we already heard in the previous talk, online platforms turbocharge, I like that word, turbocharge bullying. It is really one of the primary means of bullying among children, and it is, again, it is less costly than actual bullying. It becomes easier. It has less consequences for the bully. Okay, so for the take-home message. The age of first smartphone should not be 7 or 8 or 9 or 10. Developmental scientists, developmental psychologists recommend that it doesn't happen before 13, or preferably after the very sensitive period of social development, which is in the preteen years. Here is from the Global Mind Report. It is not a scientific study, but it is a report that compiles studies or surveys from 41 countries all around the world, and it has almost 30,000 respondents. Okay, and again, I'm not learning. So this is the mental well-being of here, women over here, or females over here, males over here, when they are young adults from 18 to 24. And this over here, the x-axis, is when they got their first smartphone. And this is how well they're doing. So over here at 6 and 7, this is probably the Finnish respondents over here. You can see that the mental well-being is a lot lower on many different dimensions. The dimensions here are adaptability and resilience, drive and motivation, mind-body connection, cognition, social self, and mood and outlook. So the later the young adult got their smartphone as a child, the better their mental well-being on all of these dimensions. The females show a steeper curve, the males show the same trend, but the curve isn't not as steep. Actually, what is interesting is that they start off a little bit better in general. It's higher in general. But still, the same trend. So, promoting children's digital well-being, I think. What we need is a change in norms around age-appropriate technologies. I've been talking about smartphone ownership here, but what is more important, actually, than the actual device, since the device can be used for so many things, is that the platforms using engagement-maximizing features are the ones that are keeping the children on the smartphones for too long. They are blocking the opportunities to practice social interaction, to play, and to engage with their environments. Then also the smartphones, or more important than the smartphone, is that the open access to the internet is what is enabling, for instance, all the inappropriate content, also mentioned today earlier. And then platforms that allow contacts from strangers is also one that even if a child would have a smartphone, they should not have the apps that enable this. Then, what we also need is more data and more research. In Finland, for instance, we don't have a national survey that would even measure screen time among children or among parents, so we don't actually even know how much children are spending time on screens and what they're doing, and we don't know how much parents are spending time on screens. So we need more data and research to also understand where we are with digital well-being. Then, when it's about minors, we should always adopt the precautionary approach. We should also always, when we make a decision or also when we introduce new technologies, we should be erring on the side of caution. We shouldn't be testing things on our children. We should first know what kind of effects they have, for instance, on adults. And this is important now when AI is coming. We don't want to try whether it has some benefits or risks for our children. We should always be adopting the precautionary principle. And then, this is really important to assign responsibility to the tech industry. Actually, this should be number one. This is the moral thing to do. But the thing is that it's beyond our reach. And the global trends right now are really strongly pushing in the opposite direction. And so we need to also accept that reality. And finally, what we need to do is give our children opportunities for rich face-to-face interaction in schools and at home. Thank you.
Thank you very much to Kristiina Tammisalo. Any immediate comments? There's one at the back, actually, if we might have a microphone. Thank you.
Kiitos for the fantastic presentation and very, very interesting. Just a quick question about the first part of your presentation about parenting and children, parents having the mobile phones and being distracted. It's understandable, I fully agree. Just one question, if you observe, it's a parenting problem that comes before smartphones, as we observed probably, I don't know, here in Portugal, we observed that with the absent parents watching TV during lunchtime and dinner time, the traditional American movie father reading the newspaper. Here a bit in Southern Europe, the father not paying attention to the kids, going to the cafes, just hanging out with his friends, and the mother just having this motherly role. So is this issue, can we go back in time and observe the same pattern? The thing is, the media now is different because we are now spending as adults 5 times in front of our mobiles, 5 hours in front of the mobiles, but our parents were spending 5 hours in front of the TV. So my question, is there, is it parenting in general or is it specifically smartphones? Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Yeah, good question. I think it is a matter of degree more than a qualitative difference. So obviously, like, parents have been distracted by different things for forever, and obviously, and it's not different now. I think that just the heavy customization of the smartphones, that they're very much customized and optimized to the user, and also they have. Or it's very much in the incentives of all the tech companies to try and keep the user engaged, and then the user basically is engaged and buys the entertainment or buys the benefit of what they feel that they're getting. They buy it with their time and attention. Like, most of the apps are free, but they're not actually free. You're buying it with your attention. So I think, more than a qualitative difference, I would say it's a difference in degree.
Very good. Thanks a lot. It was a really thought-provoking presentation. Once again, thank you.